We have 5 seconds to go, a 5-lap race, the first heat of the Rothmans AMSCAR series. Well, Cullen certainly justified his pole position by that start, but Bob Morris is just squeezing up alongside him and will take the lead as they go over the top, and it might be Grice in second spot, trying terribly hard to get up there, and it's Grice almost leaning on Cullen, who is not giving way as the field sweeps around the top of Dunlop for the first time of 5 laps.
Bobby Morris it is from Warren Cullen, Alan Grice in third spot. Cullen did well all the same. I think people expected Bobby Morris and probably Alan Grice both to beat him up the hill, but he's held Grice out and is sitting there in second spot behind Bobby Morris. But Morris has got his wish. He's in front, and Cullen is he's holding the rest of the field back just that fraction. That's going to be a great help to Bobby Morris, because this one is only 5 laps.
Oh, there's a jam of cars going in there. Dick Johnson was doing very well in the Falcon, but you can see how
Gary Cook has spun out on the corner there at Rothmans.
Now that was caused by Gary Rogers, who came in very hard. He precipitated, I'd say, in that he's made something of a crush in there. Now Rogers in reverse and keeps on going, Cook rather in reverse, keeps on going back. But Gary Rogers came in trying to pass Dick Johnson, who'd moved up from 7th to 5th place in the big Falcon. Rogers made a very desperate braking manoeuvre there, and it resulted in Cook being put backwards and sideways and out of this heat, I'd say, certainly as far as any chance of doing well is concerned.
And Cullen and Morris, of course, having quite a race up the front there, with Morris being pressed on a couple of the corners round there.
Hung the tail very wide there.
Grice has taken him.
It's Alan Grice now in second spot, ahead of Warren Cullen, followed by Charlie O'Brien in car 21. Smoke pouring from the car 4. That's Colin Bond.
As a result of the shambles up here at Rothmans, Colin has moved up into, what, 4th place or 5th place?
4th place.
Bob Morris already has a big lead though, Gary. There's the second car, which is the Alan Grice vehicle. He's a long way back, maybe as much as 150 metres behind Bob Morris, who sweeps out of sight. Now it's Grice with Cullen behind him. Then it's Charlie O'Brien in car number 21 and Colin Bond in 5th place in the first of the Falcon, but smoking quite a lot.
2.5 seconds between first and second, Morris and Alan Grice.
Well, the thing is, with what, about 2.5 laps to go, the question is, can Grice catch him? He was saying that he's fed up with being the bridesmaid, he wants to be the bride. But
well, he's
Morris seems to be flying.
Colin Bond is blowing an awful lot of smoke there.
That's Colin there. You can see the oil, and behind him, car 34, Gary Rogers, is suffering from the lack of vision. You can see Gary now making a move on the outside. He went on the inside before in that first lap shambles, and he's taken Colin on the outside as Bob Morris goes across the start-finish line.
Morris, of course, has no such vision problems going up Pitchapove here, and as far as he's concerned, he's in the lead and he's going to stay there. I really can't see that Grice is going to get up to him at all.
Not with a lap and a half to go, he's not. Barring anything untoward, of course. But by gee, Grice is really pushing it down in towards Honda. Bobby Morris, however, making the running in front, and they've opened up an appreciable gap on the third car. That's car 21, driven by Charlie O'Brien. Then comes Warren Cullen, followed by Gary Rogers in car 34. 2.2 seconds, so the gap has been closed slightly by Alan Grice. 2.2 seconds now between the leader Bobby Morris and the second place car number 6, the Craven Mile Tirana of Alan Grice. A lap to go. This is the last lap.
And Bond is just laying down a complete screen of smoke around the whole circuit. I'm quite surprised that he hasn't been black flagged for dropping oil and so forth. There's just a haze on most of the corners where the oil's pouring out.
Down the back for the last time for Bobby Morris, well clear of Alan Grice, doing it comfortably in front. Sweeping down towards Honda corner for the last time for Bobby Morris. Down the left-hander. Down Phillip straight towards Rothmans corner. Grice, 2 seconds now the gap, so he has closed it appreciably, 0.6 of a second, but there's no way he's going to make up the rest of the distance between here and the finish line.
And the order then will be Bob Morris, who's about to go across the line with, you can see him now coming down through Ron Hodgson corner to take the checkered flag. And so Bob Morris, as he has done almost throughout this season, gets the checkered flag first. Alan Grice comes second. Charlie O'Brien will be across third. In fourth place we'll have car number 34,
Gary Rogers.
just takes the flag then. Dick Johnson from Queensland comes in.
First of the Falcon tail.
And Colin Bond just limped across in 6th place. So we have Warren Cullen, Bob Morris, Alan Grice, Charlie O'Brien, Gary Cook, Gary Rogers, Dick Johnson, Colin Bond. That's the leading group. 18 cars on the grid. Once again, Cullen does it all right. Morris is just getting a little bit more steam there. Behind them, there are drivers looking for ways around. There's Charlie O'Brien, Gary Cook, Gary Rogers, all looking for a quick pass through. And Grice is on the outside of Cullen, a very difficult line, but he decides to stick it out to try and get up into the 2nd spot as they come out through Dunlop. But it's Cullen in 2nd spot and the tail swinging, Grice in 3rd. Charlie O'Brien's behind him, then Cook and then Rogers in the field, pouring out Dick Johnson midfield there in the big Falcon. And that's the order as they go through with Jim Keogh towards the tail of the field as they come through Honda for the first time. A wide line by Johnson there in the blue Falcon. He drags up some dust as the cars go through the field. This is an 8-lap race. Morris leads Cullen.
And this is almost a repeat of the first heat, with these 3 cars simply just playing nose to tail. Grice, of course, jumping in and out whenever he can. Grice was always a bit of a hard driver, lifting wheels on corners and so forth, and he's determined to be up there and in the lead. But Morris, again, holding him out.
Morris was the man who looked as though he was going to run away with this year's Australian Touring Car Championship, which is run over a separate series of races at various circuits throughout Australia. But a couple of disappointing runs for him in the last few races have now put him into 2nd spot behind Peter Brock. But Morris's form has been quite sensational this year. He has always been fast. There's signs of an explosion up there. It's Colin Bond's Falcon again. I think you'll see him coming to action in just a minute, trailing an enormous cloud of smoke.
Yes, it's Bond, all right.
And Bond has blown something, whether it's a hose or whether it's a piston, I don't know, but it's enough to put him out of the race, and Bond is pulling over to the side. We have a car.
Gary Rogers, car 34.
Into Rothmans. You can see the car there. You can see how heavily he's crunched it. The front of the car is bent. Rogers is out being helped by the marshals. I think he's okay. He's a bit shaken up because he went in very, very heavily and he's crouched forward as though the seat belts have put some sort of pressure on his chest, but he's walking okay. The car itself is badly damaged. He hit it very hard, Gary Rogers. He had trouble there in the first heat. You may recall, had a braking moment which caused Cook to spin.
Same pair were involved there. It was Cook just ahead of Rogers at the point as they came into Rothmans, and in his haste to try and get round, Gary Rogers has come crunch with the wall.
He's not going to get that car out of the way either, unless they can get a truck
quite
there.
a mess there.
So the race is going to be slow. You can see the cars parked there. We've got...
Nobody can get quite the line they want now around that corner with that car parked there, of course.
And that will have to stay there for the remainder of these 8 laps, which is going to have an inhibiting effect on these final laps. Not that it may determine who's winning. He's just running away with it.
That slight altercation that put Gary Rogers out of business also allowed Dick Johnson to move up into 5th placing ahead of Gary Cook. So it's Bobby Morris in front from Warren Cullen, Alan Grice, then follows Charlie O'Brien in car 21, Dick Johnson car 17, and then Gary Cook in car 11.
And the battle for 2nd place is where the interest is. Bob Morris is cleared out. He's now going down through Honda. He'll then be slowed as he goes around Rothman's corner where the cars are still parked. But this is the tight squeeze where Warren Cullen is under threat. The challenge comes initially from Alan Grice, and he has Charlie O'Brien right on his tail, and that's a pretty noisy sort of twosome for Warren Cullen to have to keep out, because they're 2 of the top touring car drivers in the country that Warren Cullen has right on his tail now, and they want that 2nd spot and a bit of a chance of getting up towards where Bob Morris is leading this race. There are 4 laps still to go.
And Grice trying all sorts of manoeuvres to try and get past Warren Cullen as they go around the Dunlop loop. It just seems as though Cullen is determined to hold him out, keeps shutting the door on him every time.
It's making
Grice
the race for Bobby Morris.
It certainly is. It's also giving, yes, as you say, giving Morris a chance to get away, and Grice is trying hard on Honda.
It was almost a desperate line there. He stood the chance of catching the tail of Cullen, and now he's got O'Brien on his tail. Of course, Grice wants to get away from O'Brien. O'Brien, who used to drive for the Holden dealer team, now running his own team for Phillips. He's one of the most talented young drivers in the country, and Grice knows this, and he doesn't want O'Brien too close, so he'd like to get by Cullen if he can. But he's finding it hard. Cullen's car is quick. Oh, we've got ourselves a nice little spin up there. It's Ralph Radburn in the older Piranha. Just getting it back on the road again.
Bobby Morris with the lead, an appreciable gap over car 22, Warren Cullen, and Alan Grice and Charlie O'Brien. Then another gap to Dick Johnson in car 17, the first of the Falcons, followed by car 11, Gary Cook, and then comes 88, Fred Geisler in a Tirana.
And at the moment, Bobby Morris has got a 3.5 second lead, and he's determined to hang on to it. So far he's won 6 out of 7 of the AMSCAR heats, and he's determined to make it 7 out of 8. The only other one, of course,
battle for the second, third and fourth placings is tremendous.
Now we have Grice making another move. He'll be anxious to get by here. Rothman puts his nose up alongside the front door of Cullen. Cullen's not having any of that.
Almost lost his nose there, actually, as Cullen chopped it off.
And in fact, it was a bit vulnerable to the challenge of O'Brien, who was very close. And because Grice came out of it rather slowly, having made that unusual manoeuvre to try and get by, Charlie O'Brien found himself in a fairly good position. But now the three are back in order. This is a battle for second place. Bobby Morris has gone by, 2 laps to go, and there's Morris up the top of Dunlop, while the rest of the field are just cresting the top of Bitchapave Hill. Just coming into camera range now. You can see again how Grice is trying terribly hard to get by Cullen. Cullen going very well though, holding him out and going hard. And O'Brien sitting back there, liking to get by both of them if he possibly can, and then a long gap back to Dick Johnson from Queensland, leading the Falcon Challenge, but a fair way back today.
And in fact, Cullen locking a wheel there in an attempt to stay in front of Grice.
5.1 seconds now, the lead for Bobby Morris, so he's doing it pretty comfortably.
I think Grice has got him this time, but Cullen's going to stay there. They might
they've outdone each other.
Well, now
Charlie O'Brien's got through.
There's going to be a bit of an inquiry about that, because the move came on the corner where the car was parked. There were flags out to warn them that there was a car there, and I can imagine a few discussions taking place afterwards saying, hey, you can't change positions when the flag is being shown. Now, whether the flag was being waved or whether the marshal felt they knew about it, I don't know, but they've only got one more lap now to go to rectify the position, and Grice everything is out now to try and haul in Charlie O'Brien. He's coming second in this squabble, third actually, because there we've seen Morris go by. Now it's O'Brien and then Grice, and currently Cullen, who was coming second, way back in fourth place. And Charlie O'Brien finds himself in second spot. I don't think there's any way that Alan Grice can catch him, because he's got himself a fair old gap of something like 6 car lengths. You can see there the difference as they go down towards the corner where Gary Rogers' car is still parked. In the meantime, Bob Morris comes over to win this second heat, this 8-lap heat. Collects some more prize money for the Ron Hodgson Channel 7 racing team. Charlie O'Brien for Phillips across second, the Craven Mile car of Alan Grice is third, and Warren Cullen in 22 comes across in fourth place. Then Dick Johnson, who made up a lot of ground to come up into fifth position there, is next across the line.
Well, 7 out of 8 for Bob Morris, and that's a record anybody would be proud of.
Dick Johnson is back there in the Falcon. Colin Bond was to be beside him, but I think he smoked once too often and won't be running. Fred Geisler, Bill O'Brien, Ray Kalita and Ralph Radburn, Ross Matheson, Ron Wanless, Scotty Taylor, Gary Wilmington, Jim Keogh and Phil Lyon, and the flag is about to drop.
Of the last race is again Morris jumps into the lead with Cullen right on his tail.
Grice making a move on the inside, but he's not going to go up the grass, although the field was almost forcing him to go that way. These opening laps very important in terms of position, but it's Morris who's got to the lead again.
Charlie O'Brien sideways there.
And the field, that's right, packed fairly tight behind them too. Cullen has made good starts, but just seems to run out of air a bit. Oh, there's a nice sort of run
Grice
up there.
and O'Brien are continuing their slight little altercation of the previous race.
Well, O'Brien went wide there, and where he was pushed or where he was forced is not the place to go. The cars are almost flat out. It's a very hairy part of the circuit, and O'Brien did well to get back and under control there, but it's cost him a couple of car lengths probably. And
Bob Morris in front from Warren Cullen. Third place is Alan Grice. Then comes Charlie O'Brien, Gary Cook, Dick Johnston and Fred Geisler in that order. This is a 13-lapper.
Of course, being over 13 laps, they've got a little bit of time to settle down, as opposed to the 3 and the first two heats of this. They've got time to just feel around a little bit, maybe move position and be not quite so gung-ho about it all.
Comparatively. I don't
Comparatively.
think anybody settles down at Amaroo Park.
I don't think so either. Apart, of course, from that man, Bob Morris.
Warren Cullen running second and with a big lead over Alan Grice, who has Charlie O'Brien now close on his tail. Then we have Gary Cook and then Dick Johnson running very well in 6th place in the first of the Falcons.
If we get a chance at some stage to run back to 9th place, you will see the purple monster of Ron Wanless, who hadn't been sighted in the earlier 2 heats.
He told me he was going to take a fairly easy hit today. He found the track hard. Everyone finds Amaroo hard. There he is now, a most distinctively coloured car. A man who's tried many fields of sport, has done well in most, and those who've talked to him, including Bobby Morris, the kingpin here, says he's a very sensible, intelligent driver and he'll do well.
Bob was impressed with him, wasn't he?
He was very impressed with his attitude. That's Ron Wanless.
And a beautifully sorted motor car as well. He spent almost $100,000 on that car since he got it. And his aim, I think, is just to nurse it along, feel his way around, and then become really competitive.
If I had a $100,000 motor car, I'd be nursing it around too, and I wouldn't be driving it here at Amaroo Park. But there he goes now wide in the most $100,000 attitude, because he was a bit precarious there. In the meantime, on the other side of the track, there's Ron Wanless now. He's giving away something like 500 metres to this man, Bob Morris. There's Wanless, just leading car number 24, which is Ross Matheson in the Toronto.
Those two have been dicing at you for the last lap or so.
These two both making their first appearance in these cars on this track.
And both, by that short sample we saw, making a good fist of it, driving sensibly, driving quickly, and I think we'll see them both do a lot better. Wanless has the money behind him, of course, to do almost anything he wants to do. A self-made man with a lot of capital behind, some big business enterprises behind him. Runs Speedway, a demolition business, which seems to go together with Speedway, I suppose, a bit of road transport, all sorts of things. In the meantime, the challenge to Warren Cullen in 2nd place is now getting a bit tighter.
And Cook is under challenge from Dick Johnston going into Rothmans.
That's a very difficult place that Johnson is trying. I can't see how he can possibly hold the line, and he has to draw back, and he loses quite a bit of ground on that wide line.
And he slowed dramatically.
I think something's gone wrong with the car. He eased up so much either he can't get a gear or something. He was out there very wide, making quite an awkward passing attempt. But he wanted to get by because he did have the prospects of getting up towards this fellow, Bob Morris, and he couldn't see that not happening while he had that Tirana in front of him.
But the man who won the under 2 litre in the last race, Phil McDonald, told me that up on that Rothmans corner there's a lot of little pebbles around there, and in fact Phil had a deflating tyre from the 3rd lap. So
it was a great drive by him under those circumstances.
Oh, it certainly was.
Yeah.
So if there's gravel on the track, the drivers have got to be careful of it, and that's something that Bob Morris will be looking for. He doesn't want to lose this race through a puncture. Warren Cullen still holding on to 2nd place, but as the race progresses, the challenge from Alan Grice is getting a little more severe and a bit deeper with each lap. Cullen going well, and there are some parts of the track where obviously he has the legs. He pulls away here, for instance. It's a quick car that he's running. Grice has O'Brien on his tail. They're rivals from way back. They've done a bit of touching around the track, not of the affectionate kind. Indulged in it on the very first lap when O'Brien ended up on the outside of Mazda House corner. And O'Brien now trying to get close enough to them to pose some sort of challenge so he can get after the leader.
In that dice back in the field, Ross Matheson has overtaken Ron Wanless, and Matheson in the Tirana now in 9th place, ahead of the Falcon driven by Ron Wanless from Queensland.
Matheson having a busy day, driving a variety of cars.
Dick Johnson putting it sideways into the dirt, going down the Phillips Straight towards Rothmans corner, gets it back online now. Meantime, Bobby Morris over the start-finish line with 8 laps to go in this 13-lap third heat of the Rothmans AMSCAR series.
Bill O'Brien just beyond those trees, who's lost it in a big way, and there's clouds of dust everywhere, but it would seem that his race is run.
The Everlast Falcon, car 30, Bill O'Brien off the track and out of the running. Not so with Bobby Morris, a commanding lead.
And the scrap for 2nd place, Gary Wilkinson really warming up as we have Grice and Charlie O'Brien closing very much up on Warren Cullen. Here they go. You can see how hard Grice is pressing him. Alan Grice hasn't been able to make a good start in any of the races today, and has always been a long way behind Warren Cullen. and has to do his work at the end of the race. This is now the situation with something like 7 laps to go. Again, Cullen pulling away. He seems to just better get the power on a bit better. And Grice in the Craven Mile Tirana. And this is his home track. He has his own facility here, so he should have the car right for it. Seems to miss out somewhere along the way on some parts of the circuit and has to drive like the proverbial Dan Daring and other places to get right back onto his tail. And right behind the pair of them, we have Charlie O'Brien sitting there and just waiting for his chance to get by. The sort of chance that he had in an earlier race when the other two tangled going into Rothmans and put O'Brien past into second spot. So maybe Charlie was sitting there waiting for it to happen once again. Now this is where Cullen draws away coming down through here, and on the last little stage of this part is where we see Grice move up again as he comes in towards Honda corner.
So it's exactly that same situation that we had in the previous heat with those second, third and fourth place getters. Cullen under pressure from Grice and O'Brien lurking in behind them, waiting his opportunity. Meantime, Bobby Morris highballing it out in front, looking for his third straight heat win today.
And Grice closer this time. He seems to press very deeply into Rothmans, and maybe he goes in so far and brakes so hard that he loses a little bit of momentum on the way out, which is what gives Cullen that slightly better accelerating line out. He didn't make the same mistake that time, and I think that Grice maybe is poised to try and take him on this lap. It won't be till Rothmans though, because that's the part of the circuit that Grice has made his own specialty.
Certainly is. Yeah, to his cost. Grice, it seems, is just each lap is edging just a little bit closer, a bit closer, a bit closer.
Now, Morris has gone through Honda. Here comes Grice very close. He won't try and pass him here, but he will make a move, I think, coming down towards Rothmans. He's close enough now. He does brake late here, and if he can just get inside, he'll try and give Cullen a bit of a fright.
And
here
there
he
he goes.
Well, maybe next time. Cullen usually pulls away a bit here. Bob Morris, in the meantime, going very fast through Ron Hodgson corner.
Morris lapping in 55.5 seconds.
And you can see how close they are. Grice really mounting a challenge now. O'Brien still sitting back.
Order unchanged for the last several laps.
Oh, Grice got a real slingshot passing move there. He might be by because he went by very quickly. He's got through and he's taken a wide line there. He went so fast over the top of Bitchapave, he was almost out of control there.
Can Wanless slip onto the inside? Can...
oh, he's gone. He's hit the bank and gone up there. I think that's Grice who's gone up.
Yes, Grice.
He went up. He was coming out very fast and wide, having got by Cullen on that manoeuvre. He came through very hard, not wanting to fall to another move, went out wide, got onto the edge, went up the bank and rolled the Craven Mile Tirana over.
Alan Grice out of the car on his feet, shaken but apparently otherwise unhurt.
Probably could have been a slight touch there with Cullen because they were very close. Cullen was just trying to slip on the inside of them after being taken by Grice.
And the last sight we had of Alan Grice was standing there with a disgusted hands on hips and look at the car as if to say, not another one.
It's 2 cars in a couple of months, although that one doesn't seem to be too bad. Bob Morris will come round and get his first view of the car because it was on the exit from Dunlop Loop that he went over.
So it's now car 7, Bobby Morris still well clear. Warren Cullen in car 22, another Tirana in second place, followed by Charlie O'Brien. Then comes car 11, Gary Cook, Tirana again. So it's Tiranas in the first 4 places, followed by car 17 in 5th place, Dick Johnson in the first of the Falcons, and then 88, Fred Geisler in a Tirana.
And Alan Grice has really modified the rear of his Tirana, made it look more like a hatchback than it is. He absolutely wrote off the other car, of course, at Seventh Paradise a month ago, and now he's caused a bit more damage, so the team is up for a pretty heavy repair bill with this second car. But that was the price for, you can see now how the tail has been abbreviated, the price for getting by and trying to hold on to that second spot for which he had been fighting so desperately for a couple of laps. Charlie O'Brien, I suspect, is through again into second spot. The same thing happened as happened in the first race. Charlie sat back and waited, and everything comes to he who waits. Ron Wanless about to get a good view of Bobby Morris, who's going to lap the newcomer to Amaroo. Here they come now. Bobby Morris coming out of there pretty fast and had a bit of a tail wag as he had to avoid the parked Tirana. And here's Wanless now about to be passed by Morris. I don't know whether Ron Wanless has seen him, frankly. It's a tight line that Bobby's taking, and the visibility factor inside the Falcon is such that rear three-quarter view is pretty obscured, and I don't think he saw the car coming through there. Now he sees him, I suspect, but he's not going to give way to him. He says, oh, fair enough, if you want to pass me, you can, but you're going to have to earn it.
And there he goes, Morris through.
Charlie O'Brien in second place from Warren Cullen and Gary Cook, under pressure from Charlie O'Brien.
And Bob Morris with about 2 and a bit laps to go, crossing the line there.
2 laps to go.
All the excitement behind him. I would think, though, he'd be quite glad in a way that he doesn't have to worry about Grice anymore.
A brief glimpse of Gary Cook before we came back to our leader. Gary has had a few traumas today, including being touched and spun backwards through a bend at Rothmans. Might have thought he was going to end his racing there and then in the first heat. But back again and up in one of the leading positions in this final 13-lap heat for the Rothmans AMSCAR series. The whole race series worth more than $60,000, so there's a lot of money at stake, and most of it at the moment is going towards this fellow, Bobby Morris, driving for the Ron Hodgson Channel 7 racing team.
Morris slowing down appreciably now. I think he knows he's well clear of his nearest competitor, and got a few slower cars between him, lapping now in just under 57 seconds. Charlie O'Brien still in second place from Warren Cullen. Then comes Gary Cook and Charlie O'Brien.
Morris a bit tail out there as he came through.
There's the checkered flag.
Corner, and that's it.
Checkered flag for Bobby Morris.
A great scrap here, Gary Cook and Dick Johnson.
Charlie
Johnson
O'Brien
making a
in
move.
second place.
Yes, with Charlie O'Brien, then Warren Cullen, and Dick Johnson made a gallant effort to get 4th place, but Gary Cook just got there by less than half a car length to finish in front of the leading Falcon driver. But the issue really never in doubt. Bob Morris in total control of that race from start to finish. Alan Grice, the unlucky man, of course, and who went out in such spectacular fashion after having grabbed second spot. Here he goes again. You can see now how he went on the outside. Warren Cullen was there with him, and Cullen lost time but didn't touch him, which says heaps for Cullen's skill. O'Brien slips through to lead the both of them. Cullen dodges. Grice rolls.
Very good manoeuvre by Cullen to get out the way.
They were both off the road together. He was pressing
were.
so hard, and Grice wasn't prepared to give way, and he went wide and paid the penalty. Cullen just escaped, and Charlie O'Brien picked up second spot. Well, plenty of action. We'll be talking to the people who were involved in just a minute when we return to racing here at Amaroo Park.